Hi, my name is Lisa Grant, and I'm going to talk about Hortensia's speech, Rome 42 BC. Hortensia was a brave woman. She had the courage to stand up and speak out for all the women in her country that she felt were being wronged by the men governing their country. Excuse me. Hortensia's speech goes as follows. As was appropriate for women like ourselves when addressing a position to you, we rushed to your womenfolk. But we did not get the treatment we were entitled to from Fulvia, and have been driven by her into the forum. You have already stolen from us our fathers and sons and husbands and brothers by your prescriptions on the grounds that they had wronged you. But if you steal from us our property, you will set us into a state unworthy of our family and manners and our female gender. If you claim that you have in any way been wronged by us as you were by our husbands, proscribe us as you did them. If we women any of have not voted any in any of your public voted any of your public enemies, we did not demolish your houses or destroy your army or lead another army against you. If we have not kept you from your office or honor, why should we share the penalties if we have no part in the wrongdoing? Why should we pay taxes? Ooh, why should we pay taxes when we have no part in public office or honors or commands or government in general? And evil you have fought over with such disastrous results, because you say this is a time of war, and where and when have there been any wars? And when have women paid taxes? By nature of their sex, women are absolved from paying taxes among all mankind. Our mothers on one occasion long ago were superior to their sex and paid taxes. When your whole government was threatened, and the city itself, when the Carthaginians were pressuring you, they gave willingly, not from their land or their fields or their dowry or their household, without which life would be unlivable for free women, but only from their own jeweler, and not with a fixed price set on it, not under threat of themselves. Wait. Oh, nor under threat of informers and accusers by force, but they gave as much as they themselves chose. Why why are you now so anxious about the government of this country or the country? But if there should a war against the Celts or Parthians, we would be eager for our country's welfare than our mothers. But we will never pay taxes for civil wars, and we will not cooperate with you against each other. We did not pay taxes to Caesar or to Pompey, nor did Marius ask us for contributions, nor Cinna, nor Sulla, even though he was a tyrant over this country. And you say that you are Republicans. Women's roles have changed drastically since that time, in which the 1930s were dominated by one of America's greatest economic crises. And during the time, millions of Americans suffered. Unemployment was rife, seniors lost their life savings when the banks collapsed, schools shut down, and children went uneducated. During this time, women's roles were mostly as a homemaker and in the workplace remained traditional, such as teaching and nursing. So even though these women were working, it's like they never left home, because as women, we take care of the children, we nurture them, things of that nature. Eleanor Roosevelt published a book in 1933 called which she called upon women to use their courage and determination to help their families, and by extension, the country through this dire economic crisis. Most women in the 1930s were married during this time, and a woman's role as the center of the family became even more significant because, again, these women were working. They weren't just confined to the house as a homemaker. In the 1950s, women were working. There were even more women working. However, the men were coming back from the war. And when they were coming back from the war, these men wanted their jobs back. And many of the wives and mothers were working. 70% of women held clerical jobs, 12% held a profession, and 6% held management jobs. In 1980, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead a little bit too much. And yes, no, I'm not. In the 1980s, after the turmoil of the 1960s and 70s, many American workers looked forward to the 80s as a time of optimism and inspiration. The Vietnam War was behind us, and as was the Watergate conspiracy and the resignation of Richard Nixon. Most people wanted leaders that inspired them and whom they could admire. Consequently, in the fall of 1980, the voters of the United States elected former movie star Ronald Reagan as the president. Reagan epitomized the segments of many Americans with his conservation, fiscal ideas, and strong stance against communism, which eventually led to the dismantling of the Berlin Wall. Again, women were still working, but even more women were working now, and it really wasn't a big deal as much. It just led to the women not being home with the children as much. Educational opportunities in the 1980s expanded. By 1984, 49% of undergraduate college degrees were being awarded to women. Also, by the mid-80s, about 33% of the doctorate degrees were also being awarded to women. In this current day, women are pretty much playing both roles. As far as the household is concerned, our children are concerned, things of that nature. The men aren't around as much. However, this speech has a powerful impact on the future that we live in now. And in my opinion, that's because this woman was brave enough to stand up against the men. And this is in 42 BC. So you're talking about hundreds and hundreds of years later. And, as women, we're still, I guess, genderized as us being female, so we don't have as much power. However, women are pretty much the backbone of everyday life. So to me, being as though Hortensia pushed her way through that forum, and she got up there and she gave her speech in front of all these men, to this day, we have to respect that. I agree with her speech. I appreciate her for giving her speech. And then there's so many women that follow behind her, over the years. And they stood up for themselves and other women, like I said, such as myself, to make a name for themselves. So in Hortensia's speech, to me, she pretty much led the groundwork for so many other women to stand up and do what's right and just not bow down because we're females and we're supposed to be, beneath men. We make just as much money as men. We can do just about everything a man does, and we deserve to be treated as equal to a man. We're not men, but at this present day and age, we hold the households down because the men aren't around and they aren't available. And that's a whole nother topic that I won't get into. But again, in Hortensia's speech, to me, I would recommend, other women such as myself, men included. But, I would suggest that they read it because it's very powerful and it had a powerful impact on, the times then up until the present day. That's it. Thank you.